This is pre-calc video 5.1 on rationalizing the denominator. Hopefully you remember how to do this from Algebra 1. You're not allowed to have any radicals in the denominator for a simplified fraction. So the method of getting the radical out of the denomination is called rationalizing. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both top and bottom by whatever radicals in the denominator. So in this case, the radical in the denominator is radical 7. So I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by radical 7. Now, doing this does not change the value of that fraction because essentially anything divided by itself is 1. So I'm just multiplying by 1. Okay, so this does not change the value, but it does change its form. So up top, I've got 3 times radical 7. And on the bottom, I've got radical 7 times radical 7. And of course, that's radical 49, which is 7. So multiplying a radical by itself takes it out of the radical. And that's what we wanted to do. Now, if that could be simplified further, I would, but it can't. So that's the answer. Next problem. All right, here in the denominator, this is harder. We've got more than one term, okay? So what we're going to do is multiply both top and bottom by the conjugate of the denominator, okay? The conjugate is just going to be the opposite sign of the second term, okay? So instead of 2 plus square root of 13, my conjugate is 2 minus square root of 13. Okay, so what this does is it causes, when you multiply that by the denominator, it causes that to be a whole number answer. It's no longer irrational. All right, so here's what it looks like. I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by 2 minus the square root of 13. Okay. All right, so up top I've got a distribute. So 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times negative square root of 13 is negative 3 square root of 13. The denominator, okay, we're foiling, so we've got first times first. I'll do this in a different color. Black. No, let's do it in purple. Okay, so I've got first times first is 4. Outer times outer is negative 2 square root of 13. Inner times inner is positive 2 square root of 13. And last times last, we've got a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And then square root of 13 times square root of 13, remember any radical multiplied by itself just takes the number out of the radical, so that becomes negative 13. Now, here my middle two terms cancel. They're opposites of each other, and that's the whole beauty of the conjugate, so that those terms that have the radical in them cancel. If they do not cancel, you did it wrong. All right, so here's the top. In the bottom, I'm left with 4 minus 13, which is negative 9. Now, this can be simplified because there is a greatest common factor between all of the stuff that's outside the radical. So 6, negative 3, and negative 9 can all be divided by 3. So I'm taking a 3 out of each. That gives me 2 minus square root of 13 over negative 3. So that's my simplest answer. Okay, if you'd like, you can try this one by yourself. I'll wait a few seconds and then I will do this problem. Okay, so my conjugate here is square root of x minus 2. Multiplying top and bottom by that same expression. Okay, so up top I am distributing, so I've got 2 times square root of x, and then 2 times negative 2. On the bottom, I'm FOILing. So first times first is x. Outer times outer is negative 2 square root of x. Inner times inner is positive 2 square root of x. And last times last is negative 4. Okay. So it's 2 square root of x minus 4 over x minus 4. And that one cannot be simplified, so that's the answer. All right, that's it.